Hey everyone, today I'm going to do a full card prediction for UFC 304. And this card looks great compared to the last two, so I figured it's a good time to start. Just a quick note, I won't be able to do a full card reaction because I've been really busy with work and other stuff. However, I'll definitely make a reaction to the most important events at UFC 304 once this card is done. Also, I'm not going to be covering most of the women's fights. Anyways, I want to share my thoughts and predict every fight on this card, so let's get started. Now, the first fight we have on the early prelims for UFC 304 is a light heavyweight bout between Modestas Prokaskis and Marcin Parnacchio. And I'm not gonna lie, this is a fight I'm not looking forward to, but it could still be a good one. Modestas is the current favorite, which doesn't really sit with me because Marcin is pretty good. He kind of impressed me with his win over Devin Clark. I know Marcin's grappling defense is his weakness, and he often struggles against physically imposing strikers who walk him down and throw bombs. He tends to wilt under pressure and lacks the firepower to compete in those areas. But when I look at Modestas, I don't think he's that guy. He's only knocked out one opponent in his UFC career and usually wins by edging out points. So it's a close fight, but I don't understand why Marcin is the underdog. He has better wins on his record, like over Khalil Roundtree and Devin Clark, and it should be a pick'em fight, but I'm gonna go with Marcin Parnacchio by unanimous decision. Next up, we have Sam Patterson versus Kafir Crosby. Honestly, this is probably the easiest pick on the early prelims. I'm gonna go with Sam Patterson. Here's why. Crosby isn't that good. He has good offense but no defense, and he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. And I know Sam Patterson got smoked not that long ago, and that wasn't a good look, but that was in lightweight. He's recently moved up to the welterweight division for this fight, which I think will suit him better. So I expect Sam to finish this guy in the first round, either by a TKO or a rear naked choke. Up next, we have Oben Elliott versus Preston Parson, which is a welterweight fight, and this is an interesting fight, and it can arguably be one of the most entertaining fights on the card or an absolute snooze fest. And that's mostly has to do with their styles, but when you break it down, it's a pretty interesting fight. And you see, Elliott doesn't have a very high ceiling in the UFC, if you ask me. He was brought in through the Dana White Contender Series on being a tough motherfudger that fought through damage, and that's a terrible base to start off your UFC career because all it tells me is that you're a liability and you should probably have lost. He's a tenacious guy and seems to be very well rounded enough, but I'll be damned if I'm gonna trust him until I see more. Parson, on the other hand, is a guy I'm more familiar with, but that's because he's extremely one-dimensional. He's a pressure wrestler that doesn't do a whole lot with his top control time, and his cardio isn't bulletproof. I can imagine it won't take that long to get the better of Preston, just a good takedown defense and 15 minutes of worth cardio. Unfortunately, there's little no tape available of Elliott defending takedowns and anti-grappling at this level, so this fight leaves us with more questions than answers. I'm intrigued to find out more about Elliott, but I do not believe there's enough knowledge floating around to figure out how he handles a specific style. So I'm just gonna have to go with Parson to win by unanimous decision. Up next, we have a heavyweight bout between Mick Parkins and Lucas Bresky. I think this is an easy pick for Parkins, man. I think he's going to win by unanimous decision, and it's strange how these heavyweights nowadays seem less intimidating. But even though this guy could easily take me out, I wouldn't be scared of him. That being said, he's a fantastic grappler, and there's a reason why he's 9-0 in the UFC. Lucas, on the other hand, just doesn't seem like the guy to beat him. He's 3-1 and has won no contest in his last 5 fights, making him more of a journeyman. I think Parkins is going to handle him with ease. It's not going to be a thrilling fight, but he's probably going to grind him to a unanimous decision. But yeah, Parkins is my pick. Up next, we have Jake Hadley versus Callan Loughran in the bantamweight fight. Jake took this fight on short notice, and I'm picking Loughran to win. He's a beast, and he reminds me of Michael Chandler in the flyweight division, and I think he's going to have the speed advantage. Jake is decent on the feet and has good grappling, so he will be well-rounded. However, I see Loughran taking him down and controlling him for the most of the fight, making it a pretty boring fight overall. I think Callan is just going to dominate him, just like how Leon Edwards was getting dominated by Kamaru Usman in their first fight. Overall, I expect it to be a dull fight, but I'm going with Loughran. Up next, we have the only female fight that I'm calling in this card because it's the only important one and it's probably going to be the most entertaining one on this entire card. And obviously I'm referring to Molly McCain versus Brana Brazil. And I'm generally pleased that Molly has managed to turn things around for herself. She's one of the most entertaining women MMA fighters the UFC has ever seen. Her recent performance against Belbita was one of her best to date. However, we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. Molly had a significant stylistic advantage against an opponent she had already beaten before. Molly seems to be the more well-rounded mixed martial artist. She always brings energy when she competes in the UK, especially now that she's fighting in the north instead of London. While Brazil is a Muay Thai type fighter and she doesn't look like she has any good grappling. Anyways, I got Molly by a first round or second round submission by a rear naked choke. Up next, we have Nathaniel Wood versus Daniel Pineda. Nathaniel Woods is once again facing a favorable matchup, this time against a declining striker on home turf. Now, Wood is up against Daniel Pineda, a scrappy fighter who can surprise if underestimated. However, Pineda's age means he lacks speed and durability to keep up with those younger opponents, especially those who are significantly younger, like Woods in this case. This fight is going to be quite similar to the Phil fight. It may appear competitive on paper, but Wood should be several steps ahead and perform better. This time, Wood is even further ahead of his opponent than he was against Phil, so I wouldn't be betting against him. Pineda deserves some respect, but if Woods takes him serious, he should win comfortably. Up next, we have the main event of the prelims, which is Manel Kape versus Mohamed Mokaev. I think Manel Kape is going to lose to Mokaev, which freaking sucks, man, because I really wanted to pick Kape. And look, I'm aware of Mokaev's terrible performance in his last fight, but he had staph infection, and I feel like he's going to show up in this fight. But I think he's going to show up and he's going to do what he normally does, which is non-stop wrestle, non-stop takedowns, just non-stop grappling exchanges. The dude's going to pressure right from the get-go, and I do believe he's going to overwhelm Kape, and Kape isn't particularly good when it comes to defending takedowns. You see, Matthew Nikolai had successfully wrestled Kape in the opening round of their fight, and before joining the UFC, Kape spent a lot of his time back at Rizin. It seems that the odds makers have overlooked this, given how long it's been. That being said, Kape is still dangerous, and this won't be an easy fight for Mokaev. However, Mokaev has two key strengths, which is wrestling and cardio. Kape's best asset is his finishing ability. That being said, I truly believe Mokaev will win by unanimous decision. Up next, we start the main card with Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. And bro, this is an easy pick. I'm going to go with Arnold Allen. Giga is just too one-dimensional, and I believe Arnold's going to mix it up. He's going to strike, grapple, clinch it up, make it a real MMA fight. I stopped believing in the hype of Giga ever since he got folded by Kelvin the Gatekeeper Cater. And at one point, Giga had a lot of hype on him, but that's non-existent now. In his last fight, he looked like crap and he's not active enough. Arnold, on the other hand, is hungry, and I know he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He lost a close fight to Evelev and also to Max Holloway, where he took 2 rounds off from Max. I feel extremely confident that Arnold is going to get some type of finish, probably in the second round. Even if Arnold decides to just stand and bang with Giga, I think Arnold will get the best of him, and I honestly think he'll catch him and take him out. Arnold's quick and he has a lot of power, and this is a 3-round fight, so I'm confident with my pick. The next fight we got in this main card is none other than Christopher Duncan versus Gregory Rodriguez, and this fight is a classic example of a technical striker versus a well-rounded mixed martial artist. Rodriguez is intriguing due to his high potential and effective grappling and submission games, but his weak chin and chaotic style makes him vulnerable. Christian Leroy Duncan is known for his flashing striking in Cage Warriors and has performed better than expected in the UFC. After a setback against Arman, Duncan has shown a renewed force and composure. Duncan is the better striker, obviously, but handling Rodriguez's grappling threat is crucial. Rodriguez shown in his win over Dennis Tululu that he can dominate with his grappling. Now, the unknown lies in Duncan's grappling defense, which remains untested. If Duncan's defense is strong, he holds the advantage. So overall, I'm going to go with Rodriguez to win by unanimous decision. Up next, we have Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. And this is the fight I've been waiting for. This is the fight that's probably going to be the most exciting for me because nobody and for a lot of you, because nobody really knows how it's gonna play out, you know, because it honestly can go either way. But I'm gonna go with Bobby Green. Bobby Green is pretty good at defending against wrestling and grappling. The only person who really done it well was Islam, and I don't think Green was really into that fight. I don't see Pimblett dominating with grappling here. He might get a couple takedowns and hang out in full guard like he did against Ferguson, but I don't think he'll push too hard to take this fight to the ground. When it comes to the striking, Bobby Green has the edge. He'll move forward, throw straight punches, and make Paddy move around a lot. Paddy can do well with his legs and body kicks like he did with Ferguson early on, but I think Green will control the fight if they start kickboxing at a distance. Pimblett's best shot at winning is if he comes close and he's able to catch Green in those wild moments. And this is entirely possible because Green has shown that he can be vulnerable in those type of situations, like his loss to Dober. Plus, guys from Liverpool are tough and rarely get knocked out, so Pimblett can probably trade punches with more confidence than Green. All things considered, I have to favor Bobby Green in this fight, and I think Bobby Green wins by unanimous decision. Up next, we have the co-main event between Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes 2. I already made a video about this, so check it out. But basically, Tom's going to run through Curtis. Curtis isn't the guy to beat Tom, I'm telling you. I'm really confident about this pick. It's actually my lock of the night. I think Tom is better than Curtis everywhere except maybe the wrestling. You can argue that Curtis is the better wrestler, but overall, I think it cancels out. I am picking Tom Aspinall win because he's got the form, he's got the speed, and he's dangerous. And he can end this early. Plus, Blaydes has awful game planning and fight IQ, which does matter a lot. I understand there's a lot we don't know about Tom, and that could make him seem like the underdog in hindsight, but I think this fight is going to give a lot of people a reality check showing that Tom is the greatest heavyweight right now. He could probably take out John Jones, and he can bulldozer Alex Pereira. I just don't see how Tom loses this, so yeah, I got Tom winning by a first round knockout. And now it's time for the main event, which is Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad 2. And I'm going to go with Leon again. I made a detailed video about this pick last week, but to keep it short, here. I think Leon wins because his point fighting is really good. In the first fight, Leon was dominating Belal and didn't really respect him at all. I don't think that's going to change in the rematch. This might be the first time Leon tries to get a finish, but most likely it's going to be another point fight for him. I think he coasts it to a unanimous decision. Belal might try to take Leon down, but Leon's wrestling defense is going to be the best it's ever been, especially with 3 wrestling heavy camps behind him. Belal is also sloppy on the feet, so I can see him getting tagged consistently. The fight might still be competitive, but I just don't see how Belal wins this. He's 36 years old, and I think Leon will be one step ahead the whole time. Can you imagine if Belal somehow landed a head kick on Leon? That would be crazy. But I've got Leon Edwards winning by unanimous decision. Overall, the card is decent, nothing too crazy, but a solid lineup. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you guys did, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.